The mystery of the Iraqi dinar revaluation for decades. The Iraqi dinar has been at the center of one of the most intriguing debates in the world of currency speculation. On one side are hopeful investors who believe that this battered banknote is sitting on the edge of a once-in-a-lifetime revaluation that could instantly transform their financial future. On the other side stand economists, policy experts, and financial institutions who insist that such dreams are far-fetched, if not impossible. Between these poles exists a swirling storm of theories, rumors, and narratives, some rooted in history, others in conspiracy, and many in a simple desire for hope in uncertain times. To understand the appeal of the Iraqi dinar revaluation story, one has to grasp not only Iraq's recent history, but also the psychology of money itself. Currencies are not just pieces of paper or digital entries in a bank ledger. They are symbols of trust, stability, and power. When a currency rises, so too does national confidence and international prestige. When it falls, it signals weakness, crisis, or exploitation. For many who hold dinar today, this currency is more than an investment. It is a ticket to justice, a belief that one day the wealth of Iraq's immense oil reserves will be reflected in the value of its money, and that ordinary people who held on through years of waiting will finally be rewarded. But before diving into the 5 dominant theories surrounding the dinar, let's build the foundation. Why does this particular story refuse to die? Why has it captured the imagination of investors across forums, social media groups, and whispered conversations for nearly 2 decades? And what does it reveal about the global financial system as a whole? The allure of the overnight millionaire, one of the most powerful reasons the Iraqi dinar speculation continues to thrive, is its promise of instant transformation. Unlike stocks, bonds, or real estate, where wealth typically accumulates slowly, the dinar narrative paints a picture of sudden and dramatic fortune. The story often goes something like this. Iraq is one of the richest nations in natural resources, particularly oil. Its currency, the dinar, has been artificially suppressed due to years of war, sanctions, and political instability. At some point, whether through government policy, international agreements, or a coordinated global reset, the dinar will be restored to its true value. When that day comes, those holding physical dinar notes could see their holdings multiply in worth overnight, creating instant millionaires out of ordinary people. It's a narrative that feels like a lottery ticket backed by geopolitics. Unlike the random chance of numbers on a Powerball draw, the dinar story is framed as inevitable justice, a correction of economic imbalance. This makes it far more compelling to believers. Yet behind the scenes, the economic mechanics of currencies rarely work in such sudden, sweeping strokes. To appreciate why, we need to look at both history and theory. Iraq's historical currency context, the Iraqi dinar, has not always been at the low levels we see today. Prior to the 1990s Gulf War, the dinar traded at levels that would shock most newcomers to the speculation world. At one point, a single dinar was worth more than $3. But decades of war, sanctions, mismanagement, and international isolation decimated both Iraq's economy and its currency. During the sanctions of the 1990s, inflation soared and the currency collapsed. By the time of the US-led invasion in 2003, the dinar had become virtually worthless in global terms, even though Iraq still held one of the largest oil reserves on Earth. The Coalition Provisional Authority later issued new dinar notes to replace Saddam-era currency, but the exchange rate remained extremely low, roughly pegged at about 1,200–1,400 dinars per US dollar. This dramatic fall from grace is the root of much of today's speculation. If the dinar was once strong, many argue, could it not return to such levels if Iraq stabilizes and leverages its oil wealth? To the speculative investor, the logic is simple. Buy low, wait for revaluation, and reap extraordinary profits. But reality is much more complicated. The conditions that once supported a strong dinar, relative political stability, limited money supply, and a different global monetary system, no longer exist in the same form. This is why we must examine the 5 dominant theories one by one. Theory 1. Oil as the foundation of the dinar, perhaps the most frequently cited argument for a potential revaluation, is Iraq's oil wealth. The country holds over 140 billion barrels of proven reserves, making it the 5th largest in the world. Oil revenues account for roughly 90% of government income. For many believers, this immense wealth is the anchor that could one day lift the dinar to global prominence. The argument is straightforward. If Iraq linked its currency directly to oil exports, the dinar would instantly command strength far beyond its current market value. Supporters often point to historical commodity standards, such as the gold standard, where a nation's currency was tied to a tangible resource. In this framework, every dinar would represent a certain amount of oil, making it not just paper, but a direct claim on one of the world's most valuable commodities. However, while seductive in theory, this model does not match modern financial reality. Since the collapse of the gold standard in the 1970s, no major nation has backed its currency directly with a commodity. Instead, today's currencies are fiat. Their value is determined by trust, government credibility, and economic performance, not by a direct tie to physical assets. If Iraq attempted to peg its dinar to oil, it would create massive volatility. Oil prices are notoriously unstable, swinging wildly due to geopolitical conflicts, OPEC decisions, sanctions, and even shifts toward renewable energy. Tying a national currency to such fluctuations would cause chaos in daily trade, wages, and investment. Rather than stability, Iraq would inherit financial whiplash. The more realistic connection between oil and the dinar lies not in a formal peg, but in indirect support. Higher oil prices increase government revenues, improve foreign reserves, and boost investor confidence. These factors can, over time, strengthen a currency. But this is a process of gradual appreciation, not an overnight windfall. F-Theory 2, the global currency reset. Another major narrative in dinar circles is the idea of a global currency reset (GCR). According to this theory, international bodies like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the World Bank, and even the Bank for International Settlements are secretly preparing to realign world currencies to reflect the true wealth of nations. In this scenario, resource-rich countries like Iraq would see their currencies soar, while heavily indebted nations might face sharp devaluations. Supporters often frame this as a long-overdue correction, a rebalancing of a rigged system dominated by debt and fiat money. For dinar holders, the reset offers the perfect narrative. Iraq, with its massive oil wealth and suppressed currency, would be a prime beneficiary. Overnight, their stacks of notes would transform into vast fortunes, not through speculation, but through a coordinated global adjustment. Yet when examined critically, the GCR story unravels. Modern financial systems are deeply interconnected, with trillions of dollars moving across borders daily. A sudden, worldwide revaluation would unleash chaos. Massive wealth transfers, trade disruptions, and financial instability dwarfing even the 2008 global crisis. Nations fiercely guard their monetary sovereignty, and no global body holds the power to enforce such sweeping changes. That said, smaller-scale resets do happen. Countries occasionally redenominate their currencies, cut zeros, or revalue modestly after reforms. The IMF does promote structural changes, sometimes influencing exchange policies. But these are incremental adjustments, not the Hollywood-style overnight transformation that many envision. The persistence of the GCR theory speaks less to economics and more to psychology. It reflects deep mistrust of fiat systems, unease about global debt, and a desire for fairness, a belief that natural wealth should outweigh manipulated financial structures. For many, it is a story of poetic justice against what feels like a stacked deck. Theory 3. Hidden redemption centers and tiered exchanges. Few ideas in the dinar world have generated as much intrigue as the concept of secret redemption centers and tiered exchange groups. According to this theory, there are private lists of investors, sometimes labeled Tier 4B, who have been pre-selected to exchange their dinar at special locations for rates far above the public market price. The narrative often includes elements of secrecy, non-disclosure agreements, NDA, hidden facilities, and banks quietly preparing for an insider-only exchange. For those outside these supposed circles, the story fuels both hope and paranoia, hope that they might be included, and fear that they might miss out. Yet there is no verifiable evidence that such centers exist. Banks do buy and sell exotic currencies, including the dinar, but only in limited volumes and always at market-driven rates. The idea of shadowy backroom exchanges resembles a movie script more than financial reality. Still, the rumor thrives for a reason. Banks operate with opacity, and governments rarely comment on speculative currencies, leaving gaps for speculation. In an age of distrust toward elites and institutions, stories of secret exchanges for insiders resonate strongly. Even without evidence, they persist because they align with broader anxieties about inequality and exclusion. Theory 4. US and IMF influence keeping the dinar suppressed. Another recurring belief is that the dinar's low value is not simply the result of Iraq's domestic struggles, but also of external control. According to this theory, powerful institutions like the United States government and the IMF deliberately keep Iraq dependent on the dollar by suppressing the dinar. There is some truth here. Iraq's economy has been heavily dollarized for years, with oil sales conducted in dollars and its financial system linked to U.S. oversight. IMF programs have imposed structural reforms and restrictions that limited Iraq's monetary flexibility. In this light, the dinar's weakness reflects not only local instability, but also geopolitical dynamics. If Iraq were to fully regain monetary independence and move away from U.S. influence, it is possible that its currency could strengthen significantly. But again, such a shift would be gradual, tied to long-term policy changes, diversification of the economy, and greater political stability. It would not be the instant revaluation often imagined in speculation circles. Theory 5. Gradual post-war recovery. The final, and perhaps most realistic, theory is that the dinar will rise not through conspiracies or sudden resets, but through gradual economic recovery. Iraq has endured decades of war, sanctions, and political chaos, but in recent years, it has begun rebuilding. Oil production is growing, infrastructure projects are resuming, and foreign investment is cautiously returning. The banking system is slowly modernizing, and partnerships with international institutions are deepening. If this trajectory continues, if Iraq stabilizes politically, diversifies its economy, and builds credible governance, then the dinar could naturally appreciate over time. This would not be the overnight jackpot some dream of, but a steady reflection of real progress. In fact, this is how currencies typically behave. They strengthen as nations become more stable, productive, and attractive to investors. It is a slow process, but also the one most grounded in historical precedent and economic logic. When we line up these 5 theories side by side, oil backing, global resets, secret redemption centers, external suppression, and gradual recovery, we see a fascinating mix of truth, speculation, and myth. The dream of a life-changing overnight revaluation is appealing, and it explains why the dinar story continues to captivate people across the world. But history and economics suggest a more measured path. If the dinar rises, it will likely do so in the daylight of reform and recovery, not in the shadows of secret deals or sudden resets. What remains undeniable is that the dinar narrative taps into something larger than money. It speaks to human hope, distrust of systems, and the desire for fairness in a world that often feels stacked against the average person. Whether as an investment, a gamble, or a story of resilience, the Iraqi dinar remains one of the most captivating currency debates of our time. The Iraqi dinar revaluation story is not just about economics. It is also a tale of human psychology, community-driven speculation, and the powerful narratives that emerge when hope meets uncertainty. To truly understand why this debate refuses to fade, we must look beyond oil reserves and IMF policies. We must examine the deeper forces, emotional, historical, and cultural, that keep the dream alive. The psychology of belief in the RV. Every financial speculation contains an element of psychology, but few rival the intensity of the dinar revaluation community. At its core, the RV narrative satisfies several psychological needs. One, hope. In uncertain times, the modern world is riddled with financial anxiety, inflation, job insecurity, and the burden of debt. For many, the prospect of holding a small stack of notes that might one day unlock freedom is intoxicating. It represents hope against a backdrop of instability. 2. A sense of justice. Believers often describe the RV as a form of economic correction, where suppressed currencies are finally restored to their true value. This narrative resonates with people who feel the global system is unfair or tilted toward elites. 3. Exclusivity and secret knowledge. The RV community thrives on the idea that ordinary people can outmaneuver the financial establishment. By holding dinar, They believe they are in on a secret that the wider world has dismissed. This echoes the thrill of being part of an insider club. For lottery psychology with a rational mask unlike pure gambling, the RV is framed as inevitable, supported by oil reserves, international policy, or secret deals. This makes it feel less like chance and more like a guaranteed payout, even though the underlying risk is similar to betting on a lottery. 5. Community reinforcement. Online forums, YouTube channels, and Telegram groups provide a constant stream of reassurance. In these echo chambers, doubts are dismissed as fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, while even the smallest rumors are amplified into signs that the RV is near. This community reinforcement strengthens belief, even when reality offers little support. Lessons from other currencies. The dinar speculation is not unique. History is filled with examples of currency collapses, recoveries, and speculative manias. Comparing the dinar with other currencies helps us understand both the potential and the pitfalls. The Kuwaiti dinar. After the Gulf War, proponents often point to Kuwait as proof that a currency can collapse and then recover. After Iraq invaded Kuwait in 1990, the Kuwaiti dinar lost value and was temporarily replaced by the Iraqi dinar. But once Kuwait was liberated, its government swiftly restored the dinar to its pre-war levels. The comparison, however, is flawed. Kuwait was a wealthy, stable state with strong institutions and immediate international support. Its population was small, and its oil infrastructure was quickly restored. Iraq, by contrast, faces far deeper structural challenges, including corruption, sectarian tensions, and decades of war damage. The Vietnamese dong. Another popular speculative currency is the Vietnamese dong, VND. Like the dinar, it trades at a very low value against the US dollar, leading some to believe it is also undervalued. Yet Vietnam has adopted a controlled, export-driven model that benefits from keeping its currency weak. A sudden revaluation would hurt its competitiveness. This demonstrates that low value does not necessarily imply mispricing. It can be part of a deliberate strategy. The Zimbabwe dollar. Zimbabwe provides the opposite lesson. Years of hyperinflation rendered its dollar worthless, forcing the country to abandon its own currency and adopt foreign ones like the US dollar. Later attempts to reintroduce a Zimbabwean currency have faced credibility issues. The lesson here is that mismanaged economies can destroy currency trust beyond repair. Iraq has avoided hyperinflation, but its credibility challenges remain significant. Case studies of speculative manias. The dinar community is often compared to other speculative frenzies in history. Tulip mania, 1630s Netherlands. Prices of tulip bulbs skyrocketed due to speculation, only to crash abruptly. The parallel is that people assigned extraordinary value to an ordinary commodity because of belief, not fundamentals. Dot-com bubble, 1990s-2000s. Investors poured money into internet companies with little revenue, driven by the belief that the digital revolution guaranteed success. Similarly, dinar speculation is based on a vision of Iraq's oil future, not its present reality. Cryptocurrency hype. 2017, 2021. Coins with no intrinsic use case soared in value based on community excitement and FOMO, fear of missing out. Many parallels can be drawn with dinar forums, where community belief drives persistence even in the absence of institutional support. The common thread in these manias is the blending of narrative, community, and hope. Fundamentals often take a backseat to belief. The role of online communities and rumor the internet has given the dinar story extraordinary staying power. In the 1990s, speculation might have been confined to small investor clubs. Today, thousands of Facebook groups, YouTube channels, and blogs amplify every whisper of news into proof of an imminent RV. Guru figures. Certain individuals present themselves as insiders with special knowledge about secret meetings or banking preparations. Their predictions almost always fail, yet the community continues to follow them, partly because they provide certainty in a confusing world. Information gaps. Iraq's political and financial systems are opaque. When official information is scarce, rumors thrive. Every central bank announcement or IMF comment can be spun into evidence for or against the RV. Echo chambers. Algorithms push reinforcing content to users, creating bubbles where only pro-RV narratives are seen. Skeptics are dismissed as part of a cover-up or as lacking faith. In this environment, belief in the RV becomes self-sustaining, independent of real-world developments. Iraq's real economic future. So, what is the sober, realistic outlook for the dinar? Economists and financial institutions point to several key factors. 1. Oil dependence. Iraq's economy is dangerously reliant on oil, which provides nearly all government revenue. Without diversification into industries like agriculture, manufacturing, and services, the economy remains vulnerable to oil price swings. 2. Political stability. Years of sectarian conflict, corruption, and weak governance have undermined investor confidence. Political reform is as critical to currency strength as economic reform. 3. Banking modernization. Iraq's financial sector is outdated, with limited access to credit, weak regulatory frameworks, and a heavy reliance on cash transactions. Modernizing this system is essential for foreign investment. 4. Foreign reserves and debt. The Central Bank of Iraq does maintain solid foreign reserves, which help stabilize the dinar. However, debt levels and fiscal deficits remain challenges. 5. Gradual reforms. Recent years have seen cautious but positive steps, anti-corruption campaigns, infrastructure projects, and stronger ties with international institutions. These can create gradual upward pressure on the dinar. The likely outcome, experts suggest, is gradual appreciation over years, if reforms stick. A sudden overnight surge, however, remains improbable. Why the RV story persists even with overwhelming evidence against a dramatic overnight revaluation, the story continues to thrive. Why hope outweighs facts? For many, the dream of financial freedom is too powerful to let go. Distrust of elites. Believers see mainstream economists and governments as gatekeepers hiding the truth. Emotional investment. Many people have already spent money on dinar. Admitting the RV may never come feels like admitting loss, so they double down instead. Community bonds. The RV community provides belonging and purpose. To leave it means losing not just money but identity. The bigger picture. Lessons for investors. The dinar saga is not just about Iraq. It offers broader lessons about money, belief, and speculation. Currencies reflect nations. A currency's strength is inseparable from political stability, economic diversification, and governance. There are no shortcuts. Speculation versus investment. True investments are built on fundamentals. Speculation often relies on narratives and hope. Recognizing the difference is key. Beware of echo chambers. In the age of social media, misinformation spreads quickly. Critical thinking is more valuable than ever. Hope is human, but caution is wise. There is nothing wrong with dreaming of better financial futures, but those dreams should not blind us to reality. Conclusion: the Iraqi dinar revaluation remains one of the most captivating modern financial myths. It combines historical precedent, psychological appeal, and a powerful narrative of suppressed wealth waiting to be unleashed. Yet when examined through the lenses of economics, history, and psychology, the truth emerges. The dinar may rise over time, but through reforms, stability, and gradual recovery, not through sudden, secretive resets. In the end, the story of the dinar is not just about Iraq. It is about how humans confront uncertainty, how communities form around shared hope, and how narratives can sustain belief even against overwhelming odds. Whether as a cautionary tale or a source of inspiration, the RV debate continues to remind us that money is never just about numbers. It is about trust, imagination, and the eternal human search for opportunity. Disclaimer: all content provided by IQD Global Intel is for educational and informational purposes only. We are not financial advisors and do not provide investment, trading, or banking advice. Viewers should always conduct their own research and consult with a licensed financial advisor before making any financial decisions.